Alrighty then, here we go. So, this is MYTHIC Fix in Mythic Plus for you. Let's talk about all the issues Mythic Plus currently has and how we can fix them. Some of the fixes might actually account for multiple of the issues. If I repeat myself a few times, probably it's because it's important or because it's just some of the mistakes can be fixed. Multiple mistakes might be fixable with like one fix. Alright, so let's talk about the current issues. Okay, so we start with the time. What is the issue with having a dungeon being timed? So it makes you rush through the dungeon or have an optimal route, which then makes you use add-ons such as the Mythic Plus key, whatever, and all that stuff. So again, the game demands you to have add-ons. Okay, game demands to have add-ons because that's how it is. That's how I was designed at this point. Always demands you to have add-ons. Now, it makes you rush. It's unforgiving for mistakes because the time will run out if you make usually more than one major mistake. One wipe and a mistake usually cause the run to fail. So, you know, that's how it is. People leave if they see it's not a successful run. So, for example, you're in a run that lasted 30 minutes. Your total run ends at 35. After 35, it's considered a failed run. You still have 2 bosses to go. You know approximately each boss is going to take you about 5 minutes. Trash to get through, doing the boss, and then the other one. So you know this run, it's not going to happen. You're not going to time it. You might as well call it quits. And usually one person does, which then kills the whole run. People see if it's not a successful run. That's the one. Okay, and then if something happens during your run, now this is a pug, right? If it's like in like your friends from the guild and stuff, this is usually not that big of a deal. They won't care too much about a failed run. Well, they will care, just not as much, or won't be very vocal about it. But if you're joining a Mythic Plus group, right, and you're causing a delay during the run because, I don't know, man, something happened. Your dog is coughing blood, like someone's at the door and like, you know, it's important. You're getting swatted. I don't know. Either way, your whole run is ruined. Now, what is the easiest fix for this? Remove the timer. I mean, this is like really a no-brainer, right? So what does removing the timer give you? Now, some people will say, it's like, well, if you remove the timer, then anyone can just do a plus 15. Really? Anyone? Can a group, like let's say the current item level is 250, highest item level, right? Can a group of 180 item level finish a plus 15? Ever? They will not have the damage, so who cares? Now, let's say you are a geared group and you finished the plus 15. It took you, let's say, 30 minutes. Okay, you're going to the plus 16. It took you 34 minutes. You're going to the plus 17. It took you 36. And assuming this is always the same dungeon, right? It took you 36 minutes. You go to the next one, take you 40. At what point do you stop? Because the dungeon run is just way too long and the reward are not, they're not changing. Everyone's getting the plus 15 rewards. In the vault, you're going to get the same rewards. There is absolutely no reason to not remove the timer. If you are geared enough to be able to finish a Mythic Plus X, right? Mythic Plus 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, you should have all the time in the world to do it. There shouldn't be a punishment for trying. Right now, the game will punish you if you try. If you're a tryhard, fuck you, man. Because James over here decided that he suddenly had to go and something happened. You guys are left with 4 people. And there's no way in hell you're finishing it on time. Guess what? 4 people can easily finish a Mythic Plus 15. Easily. The problem is, it will take substantially longer. Therefore, they probably are not going to make it on time. But hey, guess what? If the guy had to leave and there's only one boss left, and you know you're not going to make it in time, it doesn't matter because there is no timer anymore. Boom. Your 4 men that is left can actually finish the dungeon. That's fantastic. Now, obviously, people will be like, well, this is how you can easily like make it so other people get rewards and like target rewards better. So we'll get to the targeting rewards later. For now, the timer overall doesn't add anything except negativity. It adds stress to the run, okay? If you make a mistake, people will leave because they know it's probably not gonna happen on time. Fuck this, I need it for my IO, I need it for this, I need it for that, whatever. The timer doesn't help with anything. Remove the timer. Alright, so that's the timer issue. Boom, fixed. Mythic Plus is already 1,000 times better. Alright. Rewards. Okay, so the 2 to 4 items at random for Mythic Plus. So if you win, you get 3 items. If you lose, you get 2 items. And there's 20% per +1 after the 15 that you get a 4 items. So basically what happens is at 16, let's say you finish it on time. At if you're doing Mythic Plus 16, you get 3 items if you win, and then on this, because you finish 16 on time, you get 20% chance to get an extra item. Then at 17, you're gonna have 20% chance to get the extra item. So basically at +19, sorry, +20, I don't know why I thought it was 19. At +20, whenever you finish a run, you get 4 items. Here's the problem though. How many people are in a Mythic Plus? That's right, 5 people. So why the hell does one person always, at least one person, always get screwed? And in most cases, 2 people at least get screwed. Like vast majority of cases, 2 people are doing this for out of the goodness of their heart. Drop 1 item per character. There's absolutely no reason for Mythic Plus to not drop 5 items, 1 for each participant. Absolutely no reason. You do a Mythic Plus, you get an item. You wasted at least an hour of your time as it is now. You need to get something out of it. This is complete bullshit. In an hour, with a proper group, you can get like half of the raid cleared. Almost half, at least 4 bosses, usually you can get cleared. And you would usually get 1 drop per 3 bosses. On average, I would say that's pretty much. So it's like you might as well do a raid than do a Mythic Plus. But we'll get to that. You better not do a raid, because also raiding is like, you know, shit. I'll talk about like fixing raiding in a different video, but like right now, Mythic Plus is better to do, but also, why is it wasting your time so much? Anyway, so 5 items. 5 items default. 100%. Okay. Cannot target items at all. So this goes into the Valor points, but we'll talk about here. You cannot target any item that you want because they drop at random. Now with this, I am fine with it. However, there's no fail-safe to this. Okay. So what happens is, let's say you have a trinket, like the one from Plague dungeon. Right, Plaguefall, yeah, Fall Plague, something like that. Yeah, the Plaguefall dungeon. There's one trinket there that is like, used to be, or maybe still is, the best in slot for like rogues or some shit like that, or maybe it was an intelligence. I don't remember. It was an amazing trinket. I have run the dungeon probably over 100 times while I was playing Shadowlands. I saw it drop once. It is and it can drop for Red Paladin, by the way. It just didn't drop for me, but I saw it drop once. Why is there such a low % chance on a trinket? Why can't you target it with stuff you get in the dungeon, also known as Valor points? Let's move on to Valor points. So, Valor points, there's a weekly cap. Why the F is there a weekly cap, which is extremely low, by the way, for Valor points? We don't want people to gear up too fast. Why? Maybe if they gear up fast enough, they can go ahead and play other characters. There's no reason for Valor to be weekly capped. Right now, in Season 4, it's not capped. You know why? Because Blizzard, in their, you know, in their extravagant mind, realized that's like, hey man, you know what? The expansion is coming anyways. This gear is probably like, who cares? Let them gear up. Like, let them gear their alts. They're just getting ready for the expansion. Well, guess what? When it goes from patch 9.0 to 9.1, all the gear from 9.0 is practically irrelevant as well. The item level jump is so massive that who cares if you manage to max out 5 characters? Who cares if you manage to max out 1 character? It's all irrelevant when the patch comes out anyways. Let people get their gear. So Valor points, weekly cap, bad no. No weekly cap. No weekly cap. No reason for it. Now, with the Valor, all you can do right now is you can upgrade gear. How about this? Why don't you have, let's say, outside of every dungeon or in the hub? I prefer it outside of every dungeon because it would make more sense and won't be as cluttered. But you can put like a massive, like a big NPC in the hub as well with all the items. All the dungeon items that you can buy for Valor points, right? It would cost you a half-tier price, but hey, listen, you're missing those legs. You cannot seem to get those fucking legs for the life of you. Your best-in-slot legs are just not dropping from the dungeon. And you're farming that dungeon over and over and over and over, and you cannot get it. But guess what you are getting? You're getting Valor points. And you know what? You can just go to the NPC, buy that fucking piece of equipment, upgrade it to the level that you want, and bam, you're good. Now, this also would mean that supposedly people can farm a Mythic plus 2 and get an item and make it a Mythic plus 15. That's not how it works. Make the upgrades based on IO. Since you already integrated IO into the game anyways, you might as well just use that as a system for upgrading. You can't just upgrade all willy-nilly. You have to have a certain achievement, you have to have a certain IO in order to upgrade it to a certain level. I think that makes sense for everybody. I don't see a problem with that. So, buy NPC with all dungeon equip at heroic level or mythic 0, whatever, at M0 at 0 out of X level, whatever many upgrades you want to have for the item, doesn't matter, have it at 0 out of it. Okay, mythic 0 can drop the 1 out of it, and what you can sell there is a 0 out of X, whatever, doesn't matter, like a heroic gear, and you can upgrade, who cares, doesn't matter. Okay, and again, you cannot upgrade it unless you have a certain IO. The IO, by the way, doesn't have to be account bound. The IO needs to be for the season, for the character you're playing. You can't, like, I don't think it's really fair for a character, for an alt, to be able to upgrade new gear to the max level, because I feel like that player needs to also prove that he's able to do that content. Otherwise, you just get massively geared noobs. Like, let's say I'm a paladin main, I'm really good at paladin, I switch to mage and I can't do shit because I don't know the buttons. I don't think I should be allowed to have the best in slot gear. You know, it kind of like doesn't make sense. But, you know, up to your own discretion. Some people would agree, some people disagree. That's not a hill I'm going to fight on or die on. I feel like IO should be personal, not account bound. Okay? I do feel like IO should be a bit faster in growing if it's an alt, but, you know, that's like, I think that that's too much coding for Blizzard, so I don't worry about it. Alright, so all equipment, no weekly cap on Valor. Alright, duration of a run. Currently, it's about 25 minutes to 45 minutes. Even if you're geared for Mythic plus 15, and you're doing, right now, Tirna Sith at plus 2, it takes you at least 15 minutes, probably still, right? Maybe I think the fastest I've done was like a 13-minute run, and that's a plus 2, okay? And that's the fastest dungeon in the whole of Shadowlands. Other side, DOS would still take you like 25 minutes, right? On the plus 2 when you're doing 15s, right? It's just a massive dungeon, lots of movement and stuff like that. Probably not 25, but like 20-ish minutes, maybe 18. Either way, Mythic Plus runs are way too long, okay? Now, this and the timer are not necessarily intertwined. So right now I'm saying 25 to 45 minute run because that's what the timer says. Okay, but the dungeon itself is designed to last a certain amount. That's why the timer says what it says, right? So the dungeons are a bit too big. Make the dungeon smaller, make them a bit more action-y, kind of, right? It's like you can put more mobs together, you can have bigger pools. You don't have to be, they don't have to have all these fucking mechanics on each pool. Have like a trash bag. I mean, I think I'm talking about later, yeah, trash bags. I'm talking about later, but yeah, basically it's like, let people have more fun in the run instead of like having the downtimes between packs, skipping here, skipping there, which again, some of them you might get away with, but it's like all of them have these skip mechanics except like probably Tirna Sith. Tirna Sith is actually like, there is 1 or 2 skips at the beginning, which is okay. But for the most part, Tirna Sith is like go, 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 man. It's fucking fight, 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 fight. There's no real breaks in Tirna Sith, right? Which is also why, one of the reasons it's the funnest dungeon. Not because it's the fastest, it's also the more action-packed. Then take Plaguefall, where it's like literally half the dungeon is trying to avoid and maneuver between mobs so you don't pull extra shit. Okay? Not fun. Not really fun. Okay? Duration of runs, in my opinion, 15 minutes, aiming for max 20-25 minutes per run. Change to 15 to 25 minutes on average. I would say that's a good goal. Again, if you think about how long it takes to form a group, how long the run takes, if you're somebody who works and has a family, or somebody who works at all, you don't have 6 hours a day. Now think about this way. Right now, the way Mythic Plus works, it's approximately 1 run per hour. That means if you have 6 hours to play, that's 6 runs like in those 6 hours. That really doesn't feel like a whole lot, does it? It's like playing League of Legends, but it's like back in the day when it's like every game was like 40-50 minutes, you would only get like 12 games a day, which is like, doesn't feel very good. Now it's like 20-minute games, so it's like you get like 30 plus. All right, I mean, it depends on your elo, but like, you know, faster dungeons. Okay, same with duration to group. Why is it 5 to 45 minutes to find a group? You know what, scrap the key system, scrap it. You know what you should do? Queue into item, like into Mythic Pluses. You don't have to have Mythic plus 2 to 15. You can have Mythic plus 2 to 5. 2 will be a certain IO. 3 would be a certain IO range, right? And a range of IOs. 2 is going to be a certain IO range. 3 is going to be a certain IO range. 4 is a certain IO range. 5 is a certain IO range. How do you define what your IO is? Again, basically because it's already in the game. Overall, I'm not a fan of IO, but it's already integrated in the game, so we're gonna use it. Since we have it, we're using it. How do you define people's IO? How many Mythic plus 2s have they finished, right? Maybe that's pretty much it. Like, how many Mythic plus 2s have they finished, right? Like that. Like, you don't need much more than that. Or the other thing, what you can do is, if you finish a plus 2 for a dungeon, you can do the plus 3. If you finish the plus 3, you can do the plus 4. If you finish the plus 4, you can do the plus 5. And that's it. You don't need the plus 15s. You don't need like the small incremental changes. Massive changes between 2, 3, 4, and 5. Massive changes, bigger gaps between the mobs, so they don't, oh, it's 4% harder, bro. No, fuck it, 20%. Just shoot it in, you know? Like, who cares? Or even more, like 50%. Just make it harder. There's no reason not to. You don't need the plus 15s. It just makes it even more annoying to find the group that you want, right? With all the keys dropping, going up, dropping, going up. It's like, why? Just have Mythic 2, Mythic 3, Mythic 4, Mythic 5. Boom, problem done. And in order to find a group is queue into it. Just queue into the dungeon you want, right? You can also try and find a group manually. You can just queue into the dungeon. Choose the difficulty, choose the dungeon, and queue. If the queue is too long, fuck it. Form a group. Go in manually, right? Yeah, that's duration to group. Either queue or reducing how many M plus brackets. Okay. I think that would solve a lot of problems for finding a group and how long it takes to get a group going. Okay. Don't want to say anything else about that. Not really. That's pretty much it, right? It's like, I would say the major problem of finding a group is that there's a key and that there's IO. But since IO is in the game, make IO brackets rather than how it is now. Right, trash bags. My lord. Why are there so many trash bags with so many different mechanics that you can, like, you either have to avoid on certain weeks, especially like you avoid dungeons on certain weeks because of this, okay? And these trash bags many times are harder than most of the bosses, especially on Fortified, like substantially harder than the bosses. Reduce amount of trash or mechanics. You don't have to do both, but you can do both. Reduce amount of trash or mechanics, okay, and more straightforwardness in most dungeons. You can have the dungeons that are like a bit more fun and a bit more like skipping here, skip there, you know, kind of be a bit tricky, but for the most part, again, all these trickery of like skipping and stuff usually comes from an add-on or a guide. You want to have less of that and more people just playing your game, okay? All right, weekly vault. Oh boy, this is a big one. Now, I know Blizzard said that weekly vault, they don't see a problem with it. They're very okay and very happy with the vault because it's better than the chest they had in BFA. Well, let me ask you this. Do you prefer to drink diarrhea or eat shit? Both sound kind of bad, right? That's because that's what the vault is. Vault is probably more shit so you can eat it instead of liquid diarrhea. Okay? That makes sense, okay? They're both shit. We want to make it good. Now, weekly vault. And I swear, the can have repeat items is probably one of the worst things ever. You might have a certain wrist or a certain trinket that you never get. You finally get that trinket either from your weekly vault or from the dungeon, whatever. You finally got it. For some reason in the weekly vault, you're gonna keep getting the item you just got. I don't know if it's a Murphy, I don't know if it's whatever, but it's like there might be something in the algorithm, because I'm not the first one to say it. Like, this happens way too often. You start getting items you don't need purposefully. Like, once you got an upgrade, you keep getting the same item or like a similar item or like stuff in that same slot where it's like, bro, I don't need it anymore, okay? More targetability, if that's a word. Targetability. I don't know, maybe it's a word, probably not. More targetability. You want to be able to target which items you get in the vault, or at least have some type of protection. So let's say your last pick was wrists, you don't have wrists in the next vault, or something like that. I don't know, it's gonna be hard because some people like will pick wrists, but it's like the next week it's gonna be like a bigger upgrade on wrist. But it's like, if it's the same item, it's the same item, honestly. If it's the same item you already got, register that, no need to get that anymore, okay, until like you're out of options, and then unlock all the options again. So for example, you filled up all your slots from the weekly vault. At that point, like, fuck it, let there be repeat slots, you know. It's like, I don't know how you can fix this, but like there needs to be some protection from getting same item over and over week after week, because it's really fucking annoying. I had the same belt and the same boots literally on repeat throughout Shadowlands and throughout BFA. It's like the chest just gave me the same item for 3 weeks in a row. It was crazy. And never get a ring, never get a, what's it called, a trinket. Why? No reason. Okay, no real failsafe if all items are useless. Big true. So what they tried to do is, like, if all the items were useless, they gave you Stygia. We all knew Stygia was fucking useless, dog shit. This goes back to the Valor. Okay, all the items are trash. Give us Valor points without the weekly cap that we can use to buy the items we want. Doesn't have to be that many. I mean, depends on the Mythic Plus you do. But it should help you buy or bring you closer to buying the item that you want from the vault. Okay, and this will really help later on. Valor or currency to target item option. What's this? Option. There we go. Okay, so this would really help some people finish their builds. Like, let's say you last piece you need is pants. This can be that little thing that helps, and they don't have time to run all the mythic pluses in the world to get enough valor to buy and upgrade the pants. This can help them. Or if you have nothing you really need from the vault, you can probably get valor and build it for your alts. Maybe valor is account bound, you can do that as well, right? Stuff like that. But it's like, honestly, if you make valor account bound and your guy is capped and he can just keep farming valor for his alts, fuck it, let him do it. Why not? Very grind to fill up vault for all options. Right now it takes 10 mythic pluses, 9 bosses I believe from raid, and I don't remember how much conquest or arenas you need to do, but it's a shit ton. You need a lot of grind for all 3 of them to finish it up. I would say, as far as the raiding goes, I would say more options per raid. However, what you want to do is 1 drop per wing. No, that doesn't work because it's about the same amount. So usually you have 4 or 5 wings in a raid, right? Let's see, you have, let's take Castle Nathria because it's like the easiest one I can think of, right? Castle Nathria, you had the first wing, you had 2 wings, then the third wing was the middle. Yeah, you had 4 wings technically. The last boss is a wing of its own. So do 4 rewards for raids. Okay? 4 rewards for raids. 1 drop per wing. Whichever boss you killed. If you killed all of them, you can have... so it's like you're going to have 4 slots. And it's like if you just killed the last boss, you just unlock the slot for the vault that refers to that last boss. If you killed, let's say, 2 of the 3 bosses from wing 3, you unlock the slot for wing 3, but the drops that can drop are only from the 2 bosses you killed. Does that make sense? Right? From the first wing, same. You killed all the bosses from the first wing, it lights up. You get one of the drops from those 4 bosses, but if you killed only 1 of them, the vault will give you an item just from that 1 boss. This also makes it a bit easier for you to target certain items from the raid. If you really want to, that's why like you just do the last boss and you have double the chance to get a drop from 1 from the boss himself and 1 from the vault. And vault is a guarantee item. So yeah, so vault slot per what did we call them? Raid wing. Usually 4 wings. Last boss is a boss if it is a slot of its own. Cannot target a slot. Well, that's kind of what we mean here. Okay, so you can sorry. Never mind. You cannot target which item you get, like which piece of gear you get. This is more in line with more targetability. So this and this are pretty much the same problem, and it's fixed with more targetability. Okay. Next, the difficulty for the item level given. Okay, so a Mythic plus 15 right now. Here's the biggest problem. It's like, why would people want to do your Heroic raid or your Mythic raid if they're just doing it for gear? They have no reason to participate in raids. So you're just, by default, removing people from the pool of participants for your raids, because if they just want gear, they can get the highest item level just from Mythic plus 15. And even right now in Zereth Mortis, you can get the set pieces without doing the raids. Usually the set pieces were a raid specific thing, which was something that drew people into raiding. I don't necessarily agree that you should be able to get the set pieces from the raid, the set pieces from anything but the raid. usually the mythic, like the set pieces, help you overall, yes, in all content, sure, but they're not mandatory for Mythic 15s. Mythic 15s are so easy, you don't need it. Now here's the other problem that I found with this. Mythic 15 gear is higher by default. Like, you just go to a Mythic 15, the gear you're gonna get from the boss is easier than Heroic Raid. You also gonna spend overall on average less time, and if you're doing Mythic 15s, here's the thing, that's like, I would say most times it's hard to do a Mythic 14 on time than it is a Mythic 15. Most people who get to Mythic 15s are already people who did Mythic 15s, or the ones you pick. You have a bigger pool of people to pick from, because even the people who are clearing Mythic 20s will queue to a Mythic 15 if they're just doing it for their vault. People who are doing Mythic 20s are not gonna queue into a Mythic 14 for their vault. It's useless to them, right? So your pool of Mythic 15 is already bigger. The problem is you also get higher item level than Heroic Raid just by default, and it's the same item level as the Mythic Raid in the vault. But it's substantially easier to do, substantially easier to form the group, and substantially easier to receive the loot than in all of the other options. I don't see a reason why a Mythic plus 15 should give higher than Heroic Raid. I would say Mythic 15 gear should be Heroic Raid, and Mythic 15 Vault should be either somewhere between Heroic and Mythic Raid, or Heroic gear. I mean, I really don't see why the Vault in Mythic 15 should be that rewarding in item level, especially if we can start targeting it. If we apply these changes, it's gonna be really bad idea, in my opinion, to have Mythic Raid items be the same item level as the Mythic 15 Vault. Like, I don't see a reason for it. It's like, if you're a Mythic Raider, you should be getting your gear from Mythic Raiding. I need to do a video about raiding and like the loot in raiding, but it's fine if you, again, supplementing gear from Mythic plus 15 for your raid gear, that's fine, but it's a supplement, it's not replacement. Right now, Mythic 15, for the most part, acts like a massive replacement. To the point where, like, if you're just doing Mythic 15 for a few weeks, you really don't need to do any raid. And again, which is fine. And again, if you're somebody who doesn't want to raid, then you don't need the gear from the raid. Does that make sense? The gear from the raid is supposed to help you clear the raid. The Mythic 15 shouldn't be what makes you clear the raid. What is the point of over gearing? It's like people who are like going into heroic, like right now, this is what happens. If you want to go into a heroic guild and be a regular participant, right, of an AOTC, like these people just like, they just rush AOTC and then they take a break. So they want to clear AOTC as fast as possible and then chill. These people are going to require to do Mythic 15s because you're going to overgear the content and then you can easily beat it. Do you really want people to easily beat your content because they're overgearing it? Don't you want them to challenge themselves and the raids to be at the same level as their item level? Obviously, it's Blizzard, so good luck with like properly balancing anything. But in an ideal scenario, you don't want to be overgearing a heroic raid. You honestly don't even want to be overgearing a mythic raid, but they clearly can't balance mythic raiding at all. So, you know, at least heroic, give people that, I guess. But yeah, so lower M15 gear item level, or this is a big one. This is like never gonna happen. Or specific set for content. Now what I mean by that, raids are gonna have their own set bonuses that work only in raids. Dungeons are only gonna have set bonuses that work only in dungeons. Then I don't care if it's the same item level, then it's a supplement, because even if it's the same item level, the raid gear is still gonna be more valuable because it's a set bonus for the raid. Does that make sense? Same with like the raid gear cannot will supplement slots in the Mythic Plus, But Mythic Plus gear is by far going to be better for Mythic Plus because it's going to have specific sets for it. Remember, like Court of the Stars had like a set for like 2 rings or a ring and a trinket or something like that, or 2 trinkets were a set, stuff like that. Yes, bring that back. Dungeon sets, but unfortunately those sets also worked in Raid and became kind of mandatory, but specific sets. PvP has already its own set effects, right? Like for if you have 2 PvP trinkets, you get more resilience or some shit like that. Do that with PvE. Do that for Mythic Plus, do that for raiding. That would easily solve the problem. Then it's like all Mythic Plus 15 gear, even if it's the same idol, is a supplement gear. It's not as mandatory. It will help you, but it's not a replacement for Mythic raiding gear. Right now, to be a best in slot Andy for anything, you need some of PvP, some of raiding, and some of Mythic Plus gear. Mishmash it for your stats. I don't think that's how it should be. I think it should be based on like just give sets with these stats that affect you in raid or something like that. But yeah. Alright, so the biggest issue with Mythic Plus, I wouldn't say it's the biggest one, but it is a pretty big one. The affixes are fucking shit. Okay? Overall, not fun mechanics. Many times require specific classes to not participate to make runs faster or easier. So, I'll give you an example. Explosive week, you really don't want a red paladin on your team. Why? Because red paladins are shit at switching to explosives. Why? Because they rely on like abilities that have 6 to 8 second cooldowns sometimes. And it's like if you just used it on a certain mob, you need holy power to actually one-shot the fucking explosive. You don't have holy power, you need 2 GCDs if you have the charges for Crusader Strike to actually take down the explosive. Now, if it's a pool of like 10 mobs, guess what? There's a lot of explosives, and Paladin is like one of the worst at changing targets, okay? You always want to have like a Beast Mastery Hunter, a Druid, I believe Frost Mage or Fire Mage, I don't remember which one is really good with these things. Feral Druid are pretty good with this, Demon Hunter really good, Monk is decent with these, right? But it's like, yeah, it sucks for certain classes, and again, there are other affixes, this is just an example, that are problematic. Now, I'll give an overall what I think about affixes. The affixes right now, overall, are there to make the dungeon less fun. Not more difficult, less fun. All of the dungeons, you know how like there's this term like curse or kiss? I think that's the term, where it's like curse is like you're doing this in order to like make it harder or more difficult, which is harder. And kiss means it's rewarding. So here's an example of a mechanic. Take explosive for example, okay? Explosive, give it more HP. If you don't kill it, it would do a good chunk of damage to your party. Won't kill you one shot like they do now, or pretty much. They will just do a decent amount of damage. Even if 3 of them blow up, it shouldn't one shot anyone who's full HP. 4, maybe. However, if you kill the explosives, it would damage the enemy. Right? Here's another one. Instead of explosive, make it a life bomb. If you kill the life bomb, it would heal you. If you don't kill it, it would heal the enemy, which would make fights longer. So at that point, you'll have to be like, can we kill this before the life bomb whatever explodes? If you can, then you don't need to care about it. If you can't, maybe you should care about it. Maybe you can kill most of them, and then one target that's already almost full HP will heal, and then it doesn't matter. Fuck it, right? But these things that would make you kind of think in the moment and make judgments, I feel like are going to be way more exciting and interesting than having like, oh, explosion, I gotta blow it up. It's not even like a silent thing you think about. It's like explosion, I have a target macro, explosion, attack. Right, explosion this, explosion this. Like literally, you change one of your keybinds to /target, cast ability, on certain classes just because you can just stand there and it's like you can spam that button. If there's no explosion, then it hits the target. If there is explosion, it hits the explosion. Like it's it's a no-brainer thing. There's no thinking involved. It's just there to punish you in case you didn't make the macro, basically. So make better, make funner mechanics. Okay, here's a mechanic that really sucks. Storming. Thanks for nerfing the fuck out of it, and it's still fucking shit. Storming, it sucks for melee. Why would you even ever bother bringing melee into a storming week? Ever. It makes absolutely no sense. It's like they're just gonna fly around. Unless you're a demon hunter, probably. Like, why would you bring any melee to storming? It's actually warriors too. Warriors are fine because they can charge mid-air. Or they can jump, right? Absolutely horrible, horrible design. Storming, in order to make it even like slightly fair, and I still believe it's a shit design even if you do that, don't make it spawn from the enemy, make it spawn under people. Kind of like volcanic, but instead of like damaging you, it would knock you in the air if you don't move. Make it also less of an AoE, make it smaller and stuff like that. Make it smaller hurricanes. You don't have to make it that big to the point where it's like you cannot hit the target unless you're like semi-ranged. Right? Okay, so sucks for melee. Why even bring melee? Honestly, the fix for storming is just remove it, but they just add it, so they're excited about it. Like, they added this expansion, so they're like, "Ooh, it's such a good mechanic." It's garbage. You nerfed it like 3 times because at first used to do too much damage, then it was too much of an AoE, then was moving too fast. Now it's like moving slow, it does no damage, and the AoE, I believe, is a bit smaller. Listen, it still sucks. If there's storming, I'm not bringing melee. Usually I'm all for, like, give me a DK, give me a paladin, give me a mage, fuck it, I don't care. 3 people in melee with tank, honestly, screw it. Holy paladin too, 4 people in melee, I don't give a shit. Storming, nah, buddy. Everyone is ranged. I want hunters, I want boomkins, I want mages, I want a priest or a druid to heal. Ain't nobody coming close to the tank, okay? So if the tank flies, which is usually me, who gives a shit? Tank can fly all he wants. Okay? Storming, fuck it. Straight up. Alright, explosion. Alright, I already covered this. Explosion requires fast target, instant hitting class to be a part of the run. Sucks. I mean, make it less annoying. And also, yeah, I believe you still can't tab target to it. So you actually have to make a macro, which is like so dumb. Okay, we talked about explosion. I already know my thoughts. Okay, quaking. Can't bring too many melee or casters. You can't bring too many melee because they will stack together and do a shit ton of damage to each other. So again, the quaking week, maybe 1 melee character. You can't bring 2. Casters, instant casters, yes. Long time casters, no. So I would bring a druid. I wouldn't bring a holy priest. I would bring a holy paladin. I wouldn't bring a fucking monk. Okay. Like, again, you're just making these affixes where you don't want to bring certain classes. That's not a good game design. Okay? What's the solution for quaking? Man, honestly, do the opposite. Instead of quaking, make it a mechanic where you have to stack. If you stack, it reduces the amount of damage you take. If you're standing separately, it increases damage you take, and that makes people want to stack together, and then it will be a more thought-provoking exercise while doing a Mythic Plus, because you can't just stand anywhere, because there are also trash mechanics that will happen during that time. Something like that, maybe. Invert the effect. Instead of spreading, you maybe a stacking phenomenon. And again, even if you don't stack, it doesn't necessarily have to kill you, and you can still cast while doing it. But the thing is, if you're standing back and you keep casting, you will take a lot of damage. If you can handle it, that's fine. If you can't, maybe you should stack and stop casting. Okay, maybe. Okay. Okay, some mobs don't want to move or can't be moved, thus standing on Sanguini. Honestly, I don't like that Sanguini heals enemy mobs. It either should heal enemy mobs or it should damage you. I feel like it doing both is just too big of a pain in the ass. Either way, you should know that you need to move mobs away. The problem is there are mobs that you can't move. It drops in a shitty place, for example, or can't be moved, or if they can be moved, means you have to bring a certain class. Again, a good example would be the bears and the ranger, right? The ranger, I believe, jumps back at some point. If you kill the bears at a specific location and the ranger jumps into their sanguini, or just jumps into a sanguini at some point, you're not killing that ranger. And if you don't and you can't interrupt it because it's not a caster, you can just stun it. But then if you don't have somebody with a knockback, guess what? That ranger is just gonna stand the sanguini forever. Shitty mechanic. You have to bring somebody who has a knockback. Really, really annoying to deal with. Not fun, and it just delays the run when that shit happens. And sometimes it's not really in your control. Oh, but like you could have stunned her before she jumped. It's not a cast, it's an instant. Your guess is as good as any when to stun the jumping ranger. Okay, like mechanic. Again, sanguini is like the least problematic mechanic, but when that shit happens, it's really fucking tilting. Okay, it's just like stuff like that where it's like it's super random, it's out of your control. I don't think is very good for runs. Like it's like, well, we can't do anything now. Well, we're gonna run away and LOS it. Like again, it's a waste of time. And again, this all goes back to the time thing. These things that happen that are out of your control, that waste your time, all goes back to the time thing. Timed, right? It's like, it's a problem. If there was no timer, I don't care if it jumps to sanguini, whatever. It's like 10 more seconds of waiting. Like, it's not a big deal. But because it's timed, 10 seconds matter a lot. So many times a run ended 3 seconds past the clock. And you're like, are you fucking kidding me? You know? Bolstering completely slows down the run. Can't have big pulls. There's nothing to say this. Bolstering overall just sucks. You have to make smaller pulls. I would say bolstering should have a cooldown timer between itself. So for example, you pull a big mob. If you kill a mob and it gives bolstering, there should be like a 5 to 10 second cooldown, internal cooldown between other bolstering effects. So you cannot get another bolstering if you're dying within the 5 or 10 seconds of the first bolstering. That could actually fix the problem of having big pulls, and you just have to time your kills better. Okay? Necro forces tank to kite or immune to magic. Now, technically in High Mythic Plus, you already have to kite a lot. So Necro is not really that big of a deal. I'm kind of okay with Necro. Only thing is, you can bring DK or Prot Pally with Blessing of Spell Warding, and it kind of makes Necro a non-issue. Dragon Fortify is just boring design. +% for boss, +% for trash. Not really fun mechanic. Can't think of something more unique. I would say Tyrannical. Boss has 1 extra ability. You guys need, like, Blizzard needs to decide what the extra ability is. Fortified. Honestly, I would say all Mythic Plus should just have Tyrannical, and that's it. Just have 1 extra ability. And have, like, 3 abilities that the boss might have. So it's like the boss has 3 default abilities plus 1 chosen at random out of the 3. And then you have to like figure out which one. But again, good luck balancing that shit. But either way, Tyrannical and Fortified are extremely boring. I think they need to go and be replaced with something that would make people enjoy the run more. And again, they will enjoy it more regardless if you remove the timer. I'm gonna keep saying that. Inspiring. So, Inspiring was a Mythic 10 mechanic from, I believe, BFA, from Ajara's, what do you call it? Palace, or whatever, the second raid of BFA, third raid of BFA. Again, all it does is slows the run, makes you focus fire, or you have to hard CC a mob in order to pull other mobs away. It just makes the run slower, and again, this is extremely punishing because of timed runs. If there was no timer, I'm totally fine with this. Because of the timer, is there a fix for this? I don't know. Maybe it reduces cooldown timers. crowd control effects, like stun instead of 6 seconds is 3 seconds, 50% reduced crowd control effects, maybe something like that, I don't know. Okay, bursting, I think it's fine overall. Just makes it so you stop DPSing sometimes. Grievous, I think it's fine overall. All healers can deal with it, depends on the spec. Skittish, just slows run, you can't have big pulls. Overall, I just don't like Skittish as a mechanic overall. I would say maybe some mobs can be affected by Skittish, but not all of them. So then you can focus fire, or like you can maintain the bigger mobs that are gonna be Skittish, that are gonna be affected by Skittish, and you can try and maintain them while pulling bigger with like shitty mobs that don't have Skittish on them. Raging, overall fine, but again depends on the combo. Like Raging Fortified is kind of shitty. Volcanic I think is fine overall, just makes you move a bit. And Overflowing, honestly, as far as I don't feel like overhealing should be that punishing. Like, that makes it a lot of AoE healing that you do really, really annoying. So for example, you have one target that didn't take damage, but 3 people took damage, you have to AoE heal, but like, let's say you're a paladin, you do Symbol of Virtue, and you're trying to heal multiple people at once, but one of your virtues hit the guy who has like full HP, and you're gonna overheal him. Now he has a shield, but if it's like Overflowing plus Grievous, you have to take Symbol of Virtue or whatever, Beacon of Virtue, which then will make it very, very fucking... very annoying to be a Holy Paladin for that week, for sure. But anyways, yeah, so these are like, again, with the affixes, it's a very case-to-case basis, but I feel like most of the affixes are just there to punish you and not make the run more fun or challenging. It's just there to like make you deal with it in a very annoying way. So yeah, so those are my thoughts on Mythic Plus and the changes that should happen in order to make Mythic Plus an actual enjoyable activity. Yeah, and look forward to my next video where it comes to Raid, though I think that one would be substantially shorter, because this one, holy shit, is a very long video. Anyways, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe what your thoughts are. So wait, like and subscribe, and leave a comment to tell me if I'm a dumbass, if I think this is just too outrageous of an idea, or if my fixes are retarded. Ooh, can't say that, can I? Nah, whatever, I have no viewers anyways. Anyway, so yeah. Leave a comment down below, tell me what you think, and I'll see ya in the next one. Peace.